Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Microphone check. Yeah, looks like everything's working correctly here. All right. I modified the settings, so hopefully they work a little bit better this time around. Last time they were flagging errors and issues and stuff the whole time, but I think hopefully this will be a little bit better. Fingers crossed? Question mark? Hopefully. Anyway, welcome to the daily afternoon market recap and offering overview. Over the next 30 to 60 minutes or so, we're going to cover what took place today, the trade setups and everything that presented itself during the morning session. And that's going to be using the rules outlined in the Day Trading Academy and VIP trade plans. I will talk about every trade setup that presented itself, but remember, not all patterns and setups are created equal. The ones that I'm going to cover here don't use common sense as a filter at all. Going long in a massive downtrend is just as viable as going long in an uptrend. And that's just to make sure that we have total fairness, no cherry picking, just straight patterns. Don't forget, before we kick this off, make sure to click the like button below the video there and let the YouTube algorithms know what's up. And while you're at it, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next video launch that comes out too. If you want to hang out with me and the rest of the VIPs for the entire US morning session, you can register for a 1-week trial for our private VIP live trade room right in the main page of SSFTG there. And when you register, you also get our 24-page guide on risk reward, along with the ability to schedule a 30-minute phone call with me so you can talk about any questions or anything else that you may have. Plus, best part is totally free. There's no credit card or anything else, so make sure to get on the calendar sooner than later before the time slots fill up. If you have any questions about what we offer, what we have available, or really anything else, if you want me to review a trade for you, we do a Q&A time during the charts and when we're looking for scalps and all that fun stuff, so make sure to get those in and we'll get you covered. With all that out of the way, though, let's take a look at what happened today on our old buddy NASDAQ here. Now, in terms of the NASDAQ, the overall momentum that they have going on here on the NASDAQ is, well, interesting, to say the least. I mean, if we look at the overall cycle that took place, we had a huge rejection from yesterday, drive down, and it just kept on going and going and going. And a lot of that was a sell-side rejection that took place on the Monday holiday. So with the sellers continuing to pressure down, we can see that today was nothing more than kind of a relief rally to that. And if we go back over one of my favorite things to look for, a trap above those previous swings, those types of moves, love to find those stops, get the stops, and then swing it back down again. That's kind of what happened. The market took a break, rolled all the way back up, took the stops out, finally found a top, and then rolled all the way down to where the bulls started coming in to try to pressure the market back up again, these highlighted zones here. But you'll notice there's no markings on today's chart, and that's because there weren't any setups. By the time everything finally got going, there weren't any patterns to kick it off. There was an attempted cycle to the downside, which failed. We had another attempted cycle down, which failed. And this cycle down, by the time it actually corrected back, it was way down here. So there just really wasn't any opportunities today from a pattern perspective. That does happen sometimes. Now, as far as the overall setups and everything else goes, the only thing that we really had working with us for this morning, aside from this massive drive higher, was just looking for a way to find into this continuation. They tried breaking above the highs, that failed, and that allowed the buyers to buy back into that little dip underneath the low and continue it back up again. That's really about it, though. There was an area that we were talking about before we wrapped up shop in the VIP side of things as we went into lunchtime, and that was this area down here. Don't say I didn't warn you. What a bounce. That's ridiculous. Obviously, we had a very, very interesting bounce play there, but, I mean, aside from that, there really hasn't been much else going on. So we're just going to have to play it by ear a little bit. It's kind of an awkward back and forth going on. The S&P is sort of sideways. The NASDAQ's bouncing off of some major points. And nothing's really stepping up as far as speed is concerned. So we'll see how they want to play ball here. I tried right before the start of the room. I tried getting a scalp going to the downside, but it didn't want to play ball. Ended up just liquidating out with a effectively break even. Again, an expensive scalp. That's it. We can see that it's not very dissimilar from this morning. This morning was very choppy as well. We'll see what they want to do here. As far as the overall back and forth continuation goes, from a wave perspective, it's pretty obvious as far as wave 1, 2, but then 3, that's the big question. 3 to 4 to 5 looks like it's going to be a mess, which means that 5 probably hasn't happened yet. Deeper corrective phase would look pretty nice, and if we look back at that last rotation was an L5. We have not had an L2 the whole way up, so what better spot than to look for it to come in? If the bulls want to take it back up. I can't believe I drew that perfectly. But get back down even to that settlement point and then see a rotation back up again. That'll be the area of interest. As far as the S&P is concerned, the bears are trying to get this to top weight, but it's not going. And, well, if it's not going, the bears are going to start giving up and going the other way. Vorn to go. Here we go again. Is that the same one as yesterday? Is it Vorn to go? See what the market wants to do here. We're back above settlement again. Looking at the... I was hunting for some NFTs. Looking for the movement that we had earlier to the upside on gold. One of the things of consideration here, jumping back to the 60-minute, is the fact that we're at this rising resistance area. And although we haven't seen the sellers step back up to the plate, this is a zone that could be kind of interesting. But it's got some time. It's got some time before anything else happens. And that's kind of the case for a lot of these. We're just sort of stuck waiting. Got a wedge on the index markets. Higher low, lower high. Just stuck. Nice little flash dip down into the lower 250s would be kind of nice. It's not really a good zoom for where the NASDAQ is at the moment, but we'll just leave it there, sure. Market's just kind of churning here. We've got a bit of a flag formation going on. Would be really, really nice to see that dip. S&P's not getting any luck going anywhere. Here it sits. The overall volume across the entirety of the day so far on the S&P. Let's see, that puts... Oh, no. No, why? 45.8, it's literally where price is right now. That's awful. That's not nice. Okay. Well, we'll have to wait and see what it is that they want to do here. That POC directly on top of current price doesn't help. A deeper corrective phase would look really good. NASDAQ starting to get some pressure. Kind of hovering, not really doing much of anything. Buyers are trying to get this to rotate back to the upside, but obviously sellers are pressing right back down again and saying, well, yeah, you can try. Inside bear bar. Right on top of the POC. Oof. NASDAQ's got whatever you want to call this wedge thing. Oh man, that is vicious looking on the S&P 5-minute. For the overall movement, if we zoom in a little bit closer here, we can see obviously we're in a range. But, I mean, really, this is sort of just a pause off of a really, really large continuation off the base. You'd expect the bulls to be able to get back up to a high without much of a problem, but seems like they're running into some issues here. Bulls are attempting to get it to rotate back up again. NASDAQ buyers are at the wedge top. They're closing above. Not the deep pullback that I really want to see, but it is kind of pulling back, I guess. NASDAQ getting a break back above. S&P is also trying to get a bit of a lift. The S&P does seem to be having a little bit of a hard time. Not right now, NFTs. I'll come back to you. Ooh, S&P's getting a little bit spicy. NASDAQ's not looking so great either. That may end up being a twin reversal. Twin reversal, not so happy for the bulls here. Oof, S&P trying to go bear engulfing as well. If they trigger underneath the 82.75s, that would be bear engulfing. From the... I don't know what just happened there. From the low up to... Technically, that's a lower high, so all we have to work with is an impulse from the bottom to top. Got a POC up at the highs. That's not going to change if we make it wider. Two minutes left on this current candle. POC's way up in the sky right now. NASDAQ's trying to creep its way back up again. Got a bit of a fist fight here. Predominantly sideways price action. On the S&P, we can see that it is a top-weighted POC right up at the highs. We're not really getting any action going up or down at the moment. The S&P's got a... I mean, that's not going to be helping anybody if they close a doji. S&P, little bit of a trap above the highs, could be causing some issues here. The bulls are going to have to step up to the plate. They've got 40 seconds left on the candle. There we go. Bulls hanging on. "15 seconds left. How are they going to close the candle? Uh-oh. Time to make it happen. Okay. It's not too great. Not too bad either. Bulls will be trying to get a purchase going above the high. Really challenging location. Would almost rather see if we can get a little bit of a snapback to like 86.75 or something back a little ways further. Geez, okay. $87.75 for the quick pulse back to the upside. Tested the target, then backed off a little bit. Tested the target again, backed off a little bit. Not getting a fill.
Counterparties take one spot $657 trillion at the Fed's reverse repo operation.
86.75 is the aggressive scalp, which gets swept back out again. All right, well, that's really about all they've got going on for them so far. Got a little bit of back and forth. Jeez, that was loud. That scared the crap out of me. I forgot I had that going. Hey, how's it going? All right. Welcome, welcome. Glad to have you on the crew. Looking to see if we can get the bulls to get at least a little bit more continuation or get something going on here, but obviously they're having a tough time. The highs are not being very forgiving. Buying above the candle's top, I mean, when you've got a bull bar that's way up at the high like this, buying above it's challenging anyway. You're effectively saying that it's got to go like through a new high for your target, which is just really, really difficult to make work. In terms of the back and forth, we've still got the POC up at the highs. I can't see anything with those arrows. And the sellers, if we go off the top, yeah, technically they've been hitting their one-to-ones. Okay. Starting to get a bit more bearish pressure to the downside. Sellers gaining some speed. We know from the NASDAQ, at least, that a deeper pullback would be pretty good. On the S&P, going from the top all the way down to where we are now to kind of figure out, hey, where is a potential balance point? They might be building one right now. Yep. Looks like a diamond.
So worth noting the Fed reverse repo facility use jumps to a year-to-date high of $1.66 trillion.
Big consolidation here. POC smack in the middle. That's not going to help anything. Now they've got to see if they can get something going. Bear engulfing candle. I know it's kind of hard to see. Technically speaking, though, that is a bear engulfing candle. At least for now. They've got a minute 20 left on the bar. NASDAQ doesn't really have a whole lot going for it. Going across the board here, looking at the Dow, it's in a very, very similar situation. It's not able to get going anywhere. Crude oil's finally pulling back off the highs a little bit. Any dip underneath on crude oil, underneath the 85s, back to settlement, etc., is going to be a monster area of interest underneath that base. Right here. Basically anywhere inside of there, but that's going to be the hot spot back towards settlement. Bitcoin, man, Bitcoin's got to make it up to like 43,000. Then we should be okay for at least the short term. But hasn't been able to make it yet. Crude oil's I mean, look at this thing. It's ridiculous. Crude oil's pullback, if it does pull back, this has been an L4, so a healthy pullback would be like 82.75. I mean, that's just got a ways to go. So if this one doesn't hold, that's a big opening. That would be an incredible dip, though. Oh, man, that'd be nice looking. Vumang! I don't know what those are. Nice bear bar, potential continuation for the sellers to try to continue the drive down. 83 is going to be that area. See if you can get a little bit of a test Got to test, no fill. Can they actually get a fill? Test it again, no fill. Uh-oh. All right, there we go. Downside objective is going to be 82 initially, and if they can get a little bit of a further cycle down, depending on the openness of the bears here, they could be. All right, well, there's the target. They could be looking for a continuation off of this bear bar in and of itself. A deviation of that candle, even a 1-to-1 move, would be at 78.50, and that's down to the previous lows too. So there's a lot of things that would work out pretty nicely if they can get it going. Nice little scalp continuation underneath a bear bar. Got some follow through, see if they can double down and get the deviation. NASDAQ testing the base of support. That earlier area was ridiculous. That was the zone that we were talking about in the VIP room this morning. Crazy. Before I lose this thing, I've got to set this. There we go. Now I won't lose it. Well, little bit of back and forth. Quick new low on the NASDAQ. Kind of. And then cycles back up again. Every time the sellers try to get something going, they don't. And then it just goes right back up again. Really nice back and forth. Sideways action just kind of churning. I don't think they're... What? I mean, the bears obviously will have tried to short underneath a bear bar, and they were successful to a degree, at least for scalpers. The downside target didn't really fully get hit, and, well, settlement is untested as well from a support perspective. The whole thing is just stuck inside this bull bar, really. It can't get out of it. It's trying to go up, trying to go down, trying to figure out where it wants to go, but everything is hinged on that bull bar. The POC smack in the middle of all of it. See if the sellers want to finish this off. They have a minute left on the candle. If they're able to close it with some decent strength, that will add a lot of fortification for the shorts. We got some speed picking up a little bit. Little pokes here and there. Ooh, spicy bear bar they're going to be closing out here. 3 seconds. And they tried closing it a little bit lower, but they couldn't quite squeak that last order in there. Ended up closing more on the weak side. Kind of a bottom third candle, I guess, but ugh, a little off-ish. As far as the bears taking back over again, 84.50 is a much more logical point that they try to do it from. And from the perspective of the bulls, well, I mean, really the only thing that they have to work with is the fact that we're at around the previous major swing low, RTH-wise. Otherwise, that's about all they've got going for them. The Bears have got everything else. Big swings, too. They got 4 minutes. All we need is a little bit of a dip. I can't see anything with those on. Bears kind of sweeping in still, holding off the high side. If we're looking at the bigger perspective, this is a jumbled up mess, especially on the S&P 15-minute chart. This is red light, green light they're playing over here. Not a whole lot going on from that perspective. On the NASDAQ, it's not so messy, but with such a strong bear bar down, or bear move down, my concern is that this is just a false rally up. Any longs that were trying to get this to go up, they just got dumpstered. This is their chance to get out before it breaks a new low. And the same goes for the Dow. We just trapped above that previous high and then rejects down. Then it treats it as resistance. I mean, nothing is saying that the longs are winning fights here. Even though this looks like it's a really strong bounce up, and it worked out beautifully from a risk-reward perspective. The Bears just have the bias. Going on 1:30 as well, so feel free to get those questions in. We'll get those covered for you as we go into the back half. 2 minutes, 10 seconds left on the current candle. S&P sellers trying to drive it a little bit further down if they're able to, otherwise running into some issues. Not really anything else going on here. They've got some possible shelf support, and this is also where a lot of sellers may have gotten stuck from. They're aggressively getting out of break even. And that's kind of the issue. I mean, I would love to take a short, but selling way down here, there's just not enough room. And they're not going far enough up to get a fill. Come on, NASDAQ. Nice little dip back down into that L2. Back towards settlement. Get something going here. Speed picking up a little bit. Sellers breaking down through new lows and chopping underneath the base at 69.50. We're hearing them Geiger count their way down into the floor. Notably as well, S&P fulfills the target to the tick, but that little horizontal blue line there, that's that 1-to-1 deviation of the bear bar. Hey, T, how's it going? Welcome, welcome. Good to see you, my friend. Let's see if we can get a bit more of a pullback here on the NASDAQ. This is a really, really nice zone of interest if they can get the dive down. S&P is also expanding out a little bit further. Market finally pulling back a little bit. Monster of a bear bar on the S&P. No candle gapping, though. See if the bulls want to show up. We've got possible buy support at 15,250. The Dow ran on you today. Yeah, I mean, looking at the Dow too, this is the thing. Like the Dow tried breaking above the highs and just got ripped. Right there, just peeked their head above the high. Whack-a-mole right back down into the floor. Mean stuff. And now look at the 15-minute bars on the indexes. The NASDAQ looks incredibly bearish. That doesn't look happy at all. S&P's got some bear continuation. Whoops. All right. Some NASDAQ bulls showing up off the 250s. To the tick, but they're there. Three bear bars straight down. A lot of bulls will get nervous on that. Bulls stepping up into the L2 on the NASDAQ and looking for a continuation phase back up if they're able. I mean, as far as the overall volume is concerned, the balance point's all the way back up at the 290s. And the L2 is kind of flirting with a void. Not a huge amount to work with here. How do you feel about the market in the next couple weeks, bearish or bullish? I mean, as far as the overall momentum from like a 60-minute, as an example, zooming out a little bit further, one of the things that we're really kind of keeping an eye on, and I know you look at the Dow, so let me take a look at that real quick. From the 60-minute perspective, we've got this ABCD corrective phase down, and it's, I mean, literally perfect. That was the bounce. Right on, like to the tick. It's just ricocheted right off the thing. So with the ABCD to the downside, that still maintains the upward trend, right? We still have higher highs, higher lows. Higher highs, technically higher lows. So if this were to go back up again, there's nothing stopping it, which is kind of crazy. Now, that said, where we are now, we have to give it the bearish context. The bears are the ones who are in control. The moving averages have the directional bias down. The trend is down. It's making, in the short term at least, lower lows, lower highs. So, at least for right this second, I have to give the premise to the bears. They kind of win. But I would be very quick to take it away from them if they show signs of failure, because they really don't have that strong of a case. NASDAQ was like to the tick and then didn't do anything else. So, okay. So basically, to answer your question, right now, I have to stay on the side of the bears because they're the ones who have the context. But if they lose their ground really at all, which isn't going to be too hard, the bulls will just sweep right back up. The major concern, of course, a bearish January. A bearish January is always really, really awkward because February is usually a train wreck if it closes down in January. Side note, February is also usually then a very good buying opportunity going into March. We'll see what happens, though. To the tick bounce off the L2. Not a whole lot I could have done about that. I wanted to see support down there. Technically, I got it. That's one way to do it. See what the market wants to do here. A little bit of congestion, having a little bit of a hard time. And it kind of makes sense. I mean, if they're going to be buying like the L2, where does the stop go? I mean, it's either just under the L2 or maybe even in the L3, or it's under a swing. But where's the next major swing? Right here. That is a pretty expensive stop. Oof. We're down into the zone of support. Sellers are continuing their drive down. The last bull bar was nothing more than a rejection back down on the S&P, continuing the drive. Started trading back in 2020. Heard the markets were not this volatile before 20. Yeah, no, they were definitely not like this. It was a snooze fest. I mean, you'd come in and the S&P would move. Man, you'd be lucky to see like 15 points, if that. I mean, it was abysmal. The volatility was really, really bad. We actually didn't used to trade the NASDAQ until it started picking up in terms of volatility. Before the NASDAQ, it was things like crude oil and gold and even agricultures and bonds, if they were moving enough. Now, there's more than enough volatility, that's for sure. These things are going absolutely crazy. Well, we'll see what they can manage to do. But for right now, as long as they maintain this volume, I'll still be here. And you know, if the volume starts drying up, there'll be another market that takes off. There always is. Goes in cycles. At this rate, it'll be back on crude oil. Crude oil's going freaking nuts. Crude oil's going to be back up at 100 before we know it at this rate. Nice zone of support building up here a little bit. Looking at the volume perspective from the top down and seeing how they're transitioning things. Predominantly, the volume is still up at the highs. So likely a lot of bulls got stuck and they're getting kind of dived on. Not so friendly. Yeah, that's a really good question. Do you think the markets will stay like this permanently? You know, we can never tell. A few years ago, I would have never guessed that I would have been trading NASDAQ, you know? So it just takes one event, one thing, one change, and that's all there is to it. Then you've got to change. It's kind of that ebb and flow. From the time that I've started trading, which, I mean, we're probably going on like, what, 15 years now? Jeez. Maybe not that. Actually, yeah, that might be pretty close. Anyway, my primary markets along the way through that entire period of time, okay? My primary markets have been the Russell, gold, crude, soybeans, bonds, NASDAQ, S&P, but S&P's always been there. So taking out some of the lesser traded markets like soybeans and bonds, that still leaves 5 markets over 15-ish years. So, you know, a new market every 5 years is about the cycle. It's just when the volume starts drying up, it shifts to new things, something new, socioeconomic, global economic, you know, whatever happens, and it shifts the attention to another market. That's what happened for me, at least with crude oil. I shifted away from crude because it went to negative $40. I can't trust it if it goes to negative 40. You know? Like, no thanks. It just takes one thing. So, I don't know. But it probably won't be the NASDAQ forever. No. We've been trading the NASDAQ for like 2 or 3 years now. So, based on previous historical cycles, we've probably got the NASDAQ for the next 2 more years or so. And then something else will probably start creeping up. I have no idea what that'll be. Could even be a brand new market. Going on 140, the longs are attempting to hold control on this L2. It's a beautiful dip back on the NASDAQ. The S&P is showing no bullish shifting at all. That's just straight bear bars down in a weak bull bar. No, there's really not many futures traders, and that's because a lot of people are looking at penny stocks and the get-rich-quick kind of things, which, you know, the other side of get-rich-quick with penny is get-poor-quick, because they'll rip your face off 5 ways from Sunday if you're not careful. They're fun, but, you know, it's just... I find the futures market to be relatively consistent. I mean, one new market every 5 years? That's crazy. How many stocks do... I mean, I know when we look at stocks, there's like 5 to 6, 7 different ones each day. And yeah, there might be like 2 of those from the previous day, but ugh, what a hassle. Same thing could be said about crypto. There's a bajillion and a half projects going on right now. And it's been a couple years since we've had a purge. We've seen some cuts and blood in the roads and streets, but I don't think we've had that purge blow off on crypto yet. We get back to 20K, then we got rivers of it flowing. That's the buying opportunity. BTFD. All right, well, the market is just kind of doing its own thing, and we've had plenty of opportunities today that have set up, and all of them have been just a little stressful or a little bit difficult or a little bit meh in one way, shape, or form. So might as well just call it a day and look at the fact that it's a positive day and just be happy with that. If you do have any questions, feel free to get those in and we'll get those covered for you. Of course, if you're looking for a way to join us for the U.S. morning session while the markets are open for the New York Stock Exchange Open, the YouTube membership, the join button underneath the stream, has the ability to join in with us every morning from 9 until around like 9:15, 9:20, 9:30, depends on what's going on, but while we get our morning prep done every single morning before the open. If you're looking to hang around even longer, VIPs of SSFTG, more info on that on the main page of SSFTG, but VIPs have the live trade room as part of each package for VIP membership. All of them come with it. And that VIP operates, the VIP room operates from 9 in the morning until 12. So, big dive back down. No bullish bouncing whatsoever on the NASDAQ, which, I mean, we're getting a bit of sideways action. That's it. We're not seeing them bounce. We're in the spot, but where are the bulls? Nowhere to be found. All right, well, that's going to do it. I'm still going to keep an eye on this. If anything changes, I'll talk about it in the Discord room with you members over there. But for right now, that'll do it. We'll call it quits and we'll wrap it up for the day. So if I miss any questions, you can always shoot me an email, jhb@ssftg.com. There's also a contact box on the main page of SSFTG, the YouTube comments. There's a million ways to get a hold of me. You know where I'm at. Of course, if you do have any questions, make sure to reach out and get a hold of us so that we can get those taken care of. But otherwise, for you VIPs and YouTube members, we'll see you tomorrow morning when we're getting our game plan all set at 9 o'clock. And for you Freeside YouTube folks, we will see you back tomorrow afternoon at 1300 again. All right? Have a good one. We will talk to y'all later. Thanks.